Hello, I'm Tony Sieben, and I am the lead consultant at CompU HyperGlobalNet, and I'm here today to teach you about Minitab. My audience will be interns at Johnson Wax that will be using Minitab to analyze data sets. What I want you all to be able to do after this presentation is effectively graph a histogram using Minitab. The central idea is that histograms allow you to effectively and efficiently interpret data. I will be showing you step by step how to make a histogram using Minitab so that you will be able to interpret data sets more effectively. Also, I will help make sense of the histogram itself and why they are useful. Also on top, we have headings such as calc, stat, graph, and data. The one that will be primarily used by you is the graph heading. There are many graphs to choose from. We have scatter plot, histogram, box plot, pie chart, etc. For the purpose of this presentation, we are going to be looking at the histogram tab. A histogram is defined by the textbook Business Statistics as the most common graph for the distribution of a single quantitative variable. I have a data set already made up for us. Now if you flip your worksheet to the next page, you'll see that there are two columns. We have number of months and also percent return. Now just looking at these columns, you really can't decipher anything. We see number of months goes from 1 to 36, meaning that we probably have 3 years of data here. The percent return goes from 9 to about -9. So what exactly does that mean? I'll let you guys think about that for a second while I pose this question to you. What if the percent return was for a stock that the company is invested in? We want to see if it's been gaining or losing money for the most part. That is where the histogram plays a big role. If we have Minitab make us histogram, then we will be able to look at the data and efficiently and effectively decide whether it's a good investment. We are going to choose graphs, and we see the tab histogram. So right here, graphs, and then we choose histogram, which is the fourth one down. We are going to want to choose simple histogram because we're using a single variable. If you turn to page 4, you will see the choices. Now that we've chosen histogram, a new window will pop up. If you turn to page 5, you will see what I'm talking about. So in this window, we have a left column and a right column. On the left column, it has the headings of the columns that we had with our data sets. There's number of months and also percent return. On the right, it says graph variables. Well, what we want to do is choose percent return because we want to look at how often we have gained money on that stock and also how often we have lost money on that stock. So once you have clicked percent return, like so, it will jump over to the right side. That is where we want it. So now we go ahead and we click OK. What we will see in about a second is our rough draft of a histogram. Now when I say rough draft, I mean we could technically use it, but we could also make it look better so that it's even easier to interpret. See, that's because the computer has default settings on it. I mean, they're okay, but we can definitely make them better. So what we're going to do is kind of clean it up and beautify it a little bit. The reason I do this is, one, it makes it more effective to read and easier to read. And also because my professor who taught me, Mrs. Kathy Poliak, who is a PhD at UWM, would always say that a graph of distribution is clearer if nearby values are grouped together. Which makes sense. I mean, if the values are close and you can see them working together, then you can notice the relationship and the trends that are going on. Because with this, you can see that there's some sort of trend going on. We see that there's bars going up, we see that there's bars that are lower. Now, how exactly do we do that? Well, you see, we go down to where it says percent return on the x-axis, and we click it. And then pops up a window. We'll see a row of icons: scale, show, binding, attributes, label, font, and alignment. What we want to do is change the position of the tick marks, which are the little numbers at the bottom. So we'll go and add more numbers. So right now we have -8, -4, 0, 4, and 8. So I want to add some more numbers in there so that my graph is easier to read. I mean, it's nice now, but if we add more numbers, we can see the trends and we can see the spaces in between easier. So I'm going to add -6, also -2, 2, and also 6. Now that we've added more numbers, there's another thing we can do. So up at the top, we're going to go to binding. It's the third one. So we go and we click it, and midpoint is selected up top. Well, we want to switch it to cut point. What that means is, instead of the spaces being in the middle of the bars, they're going to be right in line with the beginning and the ends of the bars. That's just another way to make it easier so that you're able to efficiently read these graphs. So after we do that, we go ahead and click OK. The last two steps that we did correspond with pages 8 and 9 on the handout that I gave you. So after you click OK, you'll get a picture like this, which corresponds with page number 10. As you can see, the tick marks are now between the lines, which is what we wanted, because now it makes the graph even easier to understand. Now the last main point that there is interpreting. So we see that on the bottom we have percent return, and over here is frequency, also known as months in this case. So what we see is that about 13 of them were in the negatives, which would leave about 23 in the positives. So that means 23 out of 36 months you were making money on the return, and 13 you weren't. Well, that makes a whole lot more sense than the numbers we just saw earlier that were just thrown together with negatives and positives and 1 through 36. So now we've learned how to make a histogram and also how to interpret it. From here on out, you'll be able to receive a data set, look at it, and if it seems to not make sense, you can pretty much paint a picture with a histogram. Granted, it's not a very pretty picture, but a picture nonetheless. Also, one more thing that I want you guys to leave here with today is knowing that Minitab isn't only used for histograms. There's so many other uses for it. It's very versatile software, and you can use it to make tons of different calculations and also make tons of different graphs. Like Professor Poliak would always say, Minitab allows you to figure out statistical analysis in many forms and can be used to help any businessman or woman. What I hope you'll leave here today with is another tool in your arsenal. Minitab, histograms, a little bit of interpreting, all that. So hopefully the handout that I gave you helped. And if you have any other questions, I'm free to answer right now. Okay, well, you guys have a great day, and thanks for having me.